ask the question first, then we'll move on down the line. So Carlos, why don't we start with you for your opening statement?
I think I'm waiting for the thumbs up.
Try that.
It needs to be on green.
It's either red or not. I can stand up. Here.
You've got two others.
Yeah.
Still on there. There you go. Thank you. Ready?
Ready.
Perfect. Hi everyone, my name is Carlos Aparicio. I'm going to start a little bit about my family. So about 4 years ago, my wife Alexa and I made the decision to move to Hinsdale. At that time, my daughter was just about a week old, and I remember it being COVID and going out and enjoying Hinsdale, downtown Hinsdale. I also have a son who's 21 months, and we have a baby due in July, so that means I'll have 3 Leos in my house. It'll be a fun summer. A little bit background about myself. I'm an attorney by trade, a practicing attorney in private practice. Prior to that, I had worked for county government, 16 charter schools, and prior to that, state government under 2 governors. I was a deputy sheriff in the Cook County Sheriff's Department and a civilian for about 3 years with the Chicago Police Department.
I'm just going to interrupt you for 1 second. They're having trouble hearing in the back. So
I'm
there's-
really close to me, so I didn't think I'd hold it that close. So that's a little bit about my background. The reason I'm running, on November 3rd or 4th, I went to go vote and talked to my wife and said, you know what, I think I want to run for Board of Trustees. And without hesitation, she supported that decision. So I got my ballots ready and hit the streets, and with I think less than 2 weeks, I was able to come up with 215 signatures to get my name on that ballot, and I am humbled and privileged to be here to be able to do that. Some of the reasons that I'm running, I want to enhance our public safety, ensure that they have the right tools to keep Hinsdale a safe community. I want to leverage our resources at the state, county, and federal government. There's a lot of grant money, there's a lot of federal grants, Rebuild Illinois grants that are being left on the table that our surrounding municipalities are receiving, whether that's for water breaks, sewer, police, and I see that my time is up, so I'm with a microphone.
I give you a little extra.
I'm going to just interrupt and say every candidate's great, so there's no need to applaud after everyone in the interest of getting out here after midnight. Go ahead.
Okay, testing. Are we good? Okay, good? Okay, my name is Neil Burns, and I want to thank the Hinsdalean for hosting this event. I'm a 26-year resident of Hinsdale, and my family and I have enjoyed every minute living here. Since 2016, I've had the honor of being a village trustee. Prior to that, I was on the Planning Commission for 10 years, 4 years as a commissioner and 6 years as commission chair. I am seeking re-election as trustee and have formed a slate with 2 other trustees, Michelle Fisher and Matt Postuma. The last several years in Hinsdale have been marked by many improvements in our village infrastructure, public safety, our downtown business community, and our village finances. My main focus as trustee is our infrastructure plus working with the police department to promote public safety. I work with our Public Works Department on improving our roads and resolving drainage and water supply issues as part of our Master Infrastructure Plan, which started in 2009. In that time, we've resurfaced 94% of our roads, replaced 16 miles of water main, and replaced or relined 18 miles of sewers. While this is excellent improvement, we need to continue to take care of our roads. Roads resurfaced in 2009 will likely require resurfacing soon. That's the way roads are. Similarly, we need to replace water main and sewer lines and address drainage problems. And so we are embarking on a new master plan in 2025. In addition to infrastructure, I also led the construction of the new pedestrian bridge over the tollway, as well as the parking deck next to the middle school, which gave the village 189 additional parking spaces. As for safety, I work with other trustees in the police department on revising signage at various intersections to improve safety and developing regulations for the safe use of electric bikes and scooters. And recently, Trustee Fisher and I have led the outdoor dining initiative, which has been hugely popular with residents and visitors to Hinsdale. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me? Starting off, thank you to the Hinsdalean for hosting us tonight. Thank you to Mr. Ben Bradley for moderating for us tonight. My name is Michelle Fisher. I serve as one of your trustees, and I've done so for the past 4 years. I also serve as one of your Village of Hinsdale Outdoor Dining Committee members, and I'm also on the Village of Hinsdale Tree Board. I take these positions seriously because our village deserves strong, experienced, and dedicated leadership. Our board has a proven positive track record and a solid list of accomplishments. Think e-bike education and safety. That's our village board, working to keep our kids safe. Think our gorgeous outdoor dining streetscape and our new memorial building plaza. That's our village board, working to beautify our village. Trustee Burns just mentioned this. 94% of our streets have been resurfaced. That's our village board, keeping infrastructure a top priority. Hinsdale is on the right track and moving in the right direction. Having village board experience is our recipe for continued success. Now, on a personal note, I'm an attorney, a wife, and a mom of 3 kids. Colin is in 3rd grade at Monroe. Chloe is at CHMS. She's an 8th grader and a rising 86 Red Devil. And Jack is a junior at Bedford Academy. Hinsdale has been our home for almost 15 years. My husband grew up here in town, and we felt it was 100% the right choice to move back here to raise our family. So as we get into the question portions tonight, I look forward to connecting with all of you. I look forward to talking to you about our village board work and our village board experience. And I look forward to earning your vote. Thank you.
Hello? Okay, there we go. Great. Well, hello everyone. My name is Matt Postuma, and I'm running for re-election on the Village Board of Trustees. Thanks to the Hinsdalean for hosting this event. Just a little bit of background about myself. I have lived in Hinsdale for almost 26 years. My wife Erica, who's somewhere back there, she and I have raised our 3 boys here, and we have always tried to be active in our communities. I started out coaching NYSO soccer, Little League, and have been involved in scouting. Later on, I became a member of the Hinsdale Finance Commission and served on that for 7 years. And now I've been on the Hinsdale Village Board for the last 8 years. The last 4 years of that, second term, I have been chairman of the Administrative and Community Affairs Committee, which oversees the village financial matters. As chairman of ACA, I am the board member in charge of the village budget. I do not want our village to become like the state of Illinois or the city of Chicago, who have unsustainable spending and are on the verge of going off a fiscal cliff. I use my financial background and my skills as a transactional attorney to carefully evaluate all proposed expenditures and to make sure that they are reasonable, appropriate, and in the best interest of our village. I approach all proposed revenue increases with skepticism and consider them only when they are fair and necessary. I have helped our village maintain a AAA credit rating, which is held by less than 5% of municipalities in the state of Illinois. This allows our village to borrow when it needs to at the lowest possible interest rates so that we can finance infrastructure projects and other capital expenditures. My fellow trustees, Michelle, Neil, and I are running as a slate to continue the excellent work that we have been doing for you. We are all long-term residents of the village and have served on village commissions before joining the board. I look forward to speaking with you and telling you what we've been doing for you over the last 4 years. Thank you.
Well, now we gotta. I retract that statement. All right, let's start with questions. First one, do you believe that the village's available revenue capacity is sufficient to cover the cost to maintain high-quality services and meet village obligations such as funding pensions? Neil, we're going to start with you since Carlos, you had the first opening statement.
Do I believe that we have, yes, I believe,
Hello? Yes, I believe we have the necessary financial wherewithal to take care of a lot of the things we have planned for the future. Chairman, or is chairman of the ACA, that Matt talked about a lot of the things we do to make sure that we're very careful with our expenditures. We're very careful with how we spend our money, how we budget our money, and accordingly, we've been able to do the things we wanted when we started our 2009 MIP, Master Infrastructure Plan. We were able to take advantage of low interest rates, get some good loans, and that helped fund a lot of that stuff. And as we put together a new 2005 Master Infrastructure Plan, we hope to, call on our other abilities to raise money, and I think we're going to be in good shape. My friend Matt is a lot more, you'll find when he talks about this, he will be a lot more up to speed on this. Thank you.
Our village financial health is in excellent shape. Our board is dedicated to paying close attention to our finances. We work together, and we are very hard working at this, to meet village needs while maintaining a responsible budget and protecting our AAA credit rating. Trustee Postuma does an excellent job here. For me, with respect to pensions or any other type of project here in town, it is all about proper planning and proper budgeting. Let me give you an example. The Memorial Building. The Memorial Building Plaza project was a massive renovation that was completed to that historic space. I was proud to spearhead that project. We delivered it on time, and we delivered it on budget. Why? Because we properly planned and we properly budgeted. In that situation, we met village needs and stayed financially responsible.
So, as the finance guy on the board, I do think about this a lot. And as I mentioned, we do have a AAA credit rating. One of the keys to having that rating is we have 25% cash reserves. 25% of our regular budget we also hold in cash. And one of the other things that we do when we budget is we have a number of funds, and that we set aside certain amounts every year to those funds, and so that we're spreading out the costs of the various projects that we have as we're looking ahead into the future. We have a 5-year look ahead for capital expenditures, and our master infrastructure plan for our roads, which we just completed, that was actually a 15-year plan. And we're going to have another master infrastructure plan that we're coming up with shortly to cover our water and sewer mains. And so we look ahead, we plan out those costs, and then we fund fixed amounts every year to the different funds so that as the costs come up, there's money in those funds to take care of those expenses. In addition, we make very conservative revenue assumptions so that we very often have budget surpluses, and we use those surpluses and we put them into those funds so we have additional monies to fund capital expenditures and water infrastructure and road infrastructure as they come up over the years.
I don't know if I think I just got the working one. Thank you. So one of the reasons that I decided to run is looking at the budgets, looking at the past year's budgets, and look, I'm going to applaud our outgoing president, Cully, who I don't know, and the board for keeping that AAA rating. But what I look at and what I believe we've fallen short on is that outlook, right? That forecast that's coming up. And our over-reliance on property taxes. Our budget is about 39, don't quote me, Matt, 39 point, maybe just under 40% of our revenue. Next comes our sales tax. Then comes our share of our local income tax from the state, which decreased from a 10 to a 6%, right? And I think it just increased just 6.16, something around that. So that's not a huge increase of what we're relying on for the bulk of our budget. Our over-reliance on property taxes is not going to keep up with inflation, with the cost of goods, with the current economic outlook. So as we look at these infrastructure plans that we're going to do and that have been planned, that cost is going to increase based on what's going on right now at our federal government, our state government. I want to look at outside plans, outside grants, outside opportunities. Rebuild Illinois, Schaumburg got money. Oakbrook got money. Burr Ridge got money. And so I look at that and I say, well, why aren't we looking at that? Why aren't we looking at our federal partners? Why is it only respect the kind of stuff?
Thank you. Our second question, what do you think is the highest and best use of the property expected to be redeveloped at Ogden and Adams? So that's, for those of you not familiar, that's the former Basic Life Institute of Basic Life. Sorry, Principles.
They've had 10 times fast.
Yes, exactly. What do you think is the highest and best use for that property? Michelle, we're going to start with you.
I might have to put that microphone down.
No? They're all good.
That's a great question.
Well, I didn't come up with it.
We all know that development is key to our village growing, and it's also important to our village growing. But there's two angles here. We have to make sure we have input from our residents, and we have to make sure whatever goes there fits within our village fabric. We're a quiet village. We have we are a quiet village with low foot traffic. We don't want to change that dynamic. Again, if you're talking about IBLP, we need to have input from the residents from Fullersburg Woods. Let's see what they have to say. And again, we have to make sure that that development fits into the village fabric. I am open to talking to anyone. I know our board is open to talking to anyone about strategic solutions and ideas for that area. And I'll leave it at that.
This is a great question. So, as you may know, the right side of that property, the part east of Adams, was recently sold, and it is going to be developed for single-family housing, consistent with the existing building code. There was some talk about part of that land being used as a park. I think that would have been a great idea. But one of the things that we really consider important in this village is property rights. And obviously, IDLP had the right to sell the property for its currently zoned use. Fullersburg Woods is really a unique area in town. And, Hinsdale's a special place, but I would say Fullersburg Woods is even more special. It's very wooded. It's less dense than even the rest of Hinsdale. And people have moved there for a reason. And I think we really need to listen to the residents and take their views into account. Whenever we're considering zoning matters, we always try to talk to the local residents and get their views on it. In terms of possible uses, obviously a big portion of that property is already zoned for R2. If you go a little bit north in Oakbrook, you'll see a lot of single-family homes. I also think that senior living would be a really great low density from a traffic perspective and from an impact on our schools. I think senior living would be an excellent use in addition to single-family.
So I agree that we need to talk to our residents anytime that we're undertaking a large development like that, where the village can control the zoning as well. And talking to residents that live in the area is paramount. I'm very familiar with the area. I wouldn't mind looking at along Ogden and obviously talking to the residents of maybe some senior living. And I agree with Matt that it's low density doesn't have a huge impact in our schools. A lot of times when people build, they don't think about that impact that overflow of schools, right? Because it's not just one house going there or one development. There's children, there's schools have to increase, and so as our school board may know, right, we have to fund that. We have to fund those seats. So I would definitely look to speak to the residents, and not just the residents along there, but also south of there, right? And just seeing what we would like to see. I mean, the rest of Ogden is developed, and maybe somebody will want to see some new development there that is consistent with that use.
Well, I think we almost had that problem solved a few years ago when a company called Ryan Companies proposed a senior living place there. Unfortunately, we couldn't quite come to terms with them. They wanted to have a very, very large facility, and we tried to get them to back off a little bit. But it ended up we could not reach an agreement on it. That's probably one of the best uses for that property, though, because the entranceway would be off of Adams, and there's not that much traffic. And by the way, if anybody's ever tried to turn left onto Ogden from Adams, you're going to be there a while. So that's the real challenge of that area. Now, if you look to the north, into Oak Brook, there are some developments, some very expensive houses. I suppose it's possible that if somebody could buy that property and develop it with expensive homes and have a lane that comes off onto Adams, I think that would work. But it's going to have to be they're going to have to work out with the owner of the IBLP. I'm sure he's going to want to get the maximum amount of revenue, and I think that's going to be a hard one to get. But that's probably the best use. We do have to take, as Matt and Michelle said, we do have to take the Hollingsburg people into account because we want to keep things low density. A retail store there, no chance. That just wouldn't work at all. So I think we need to look at what else can come along there of the low density issue. Thank you.
All right, we're on to question number 3. Do you believe that public tax dollars should be used to fund private preservation projects? Matt, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, so Hinsdale is a very unique place in terms of its inventory of historic homes. And once a home is torn down, it's not going to come back. And so, as I mentioned in the previous question, we have a lot of respect for the rights of property owners, and I firmly believe that a property owner should be able to do with his or her property as he sees fit. But we also want to encourage historic preservation because it's a unique part of the fabric of our village. And so the board has come up with a number of incentives, not restrictions, to try to encourage preservation. Most of them are non-economic, such as waiver of zoning requirements and expedited approvals, but some of them are economic. And what I will tell you is that, first of all, the residents are putting in a lot more money into these renovation projects, historic homes, than the village is putting in. I'll also tell you that I personally am watching these expenditures very hard. I do not want these expenses to get out of control, and we have a fixed budget that covers these items. We have one item that covers projects that are going to get approved this year, and another one that's looking at cash flows on an ongoing basis. And I will assure you that if there are ever revenue shortfalls in the village, that our financial needs are going to take first priority. Thank you.
So I agree with keeping the grants and the expedited permit and waived fees for historical homes. I have a close friend who is a developer. We were having a conversation this week about a historic home that he's redeveloping, and he said a lot of words about the property. But I drove past it, and a lot of words on how difficult it is, right, and the type of contractors and experience that it takes to renovate such a home. But I drove past it, it's gorgeous, and it continues with the character of Hinsdale, and that's what I love about Hinsdale. There's no cookie cutter home. Every home is unique. Every time you drive by, you see a different type of home, historic home, new home. And I agree on keeping that incentive in place, but our budget takes precedence over everything, right? And so, if a $10,000 can go to fix a sidewalk in front of a school, or a corner, a walkway, accessibility for wheelchairs on a sidewalk, I would rather do that and take it there. Especially in the central district, where we know that it's tight there sometimes with the ingress and egress between some of these businesses.
Hinsdale is very unique in its inventory of historic homes. We have a home by Frank Lloyd Wright. We have several homes by Harold Zook. The Preservation Initiative has helped preserve the history and charm of our village. After all, our downtown is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. If you want a non-historic town, just go one town to the north. The board has tried to give incentives to preserve historic homes without restricting property rights. And overall, the amount of money we're spending here is a relatively small amount of our overall budget, although I do know my associate, Mr. Postuma here, keeps a very tight look on this. It should also be pointed out, it's well documented that restored homes increase property values of surrounding homes. So, some good things to think about from what we're doing here. As Matt said, if the program gets out of hand, we can always amend it, suspend it, or whatever. Thank you.
Our village-supported historical preservation program and incentives helps protect the history, culture, and charm of our diverse streetscape. I am pro building the home of your dreams. I am pro preserving the home of your dreams. Here in town, this program, it's been very well received. 94 properties have been approved for inclusion on the historically significant structures list. 11 projects have been approved for the property tax rebate and grant. Village staff closely monitors the applications. Trustee Postuma closely monitors the application. We also closely monitor the grant amounts. And then all of that information is reported to the board. If there comes a time that our residents and this village no longer wants this program, we can address that and revisit it then. It's honestly that simple.
Marty, our next question, and it's a great reminder, we've gotten some audience questions so far. Feel free to raise your hand, and Ken would be happy to give you an index card or pick one up from you if you have a question you want to submit. Our next question, what needs to be done to maintain and upgrade the village's master infrastructure plan and capital plan, and how should that work be financed? Carlos, we're going to start this question with you.
Thanks, Ben. I kind of picked on this earlier. So, I looked at the master improvement plan from 2009. It was revisited, I believe, in 2015 or 2016. I believe now we're going on 2-year terms, 5 2-year terms, in reviewing that. And I think that's great, looking at it from a 2-year standpoint as opposed to a 10 or 15 year. Because again, the economic outlook of our country, of our state, financially is going to change, right? The cost of goods is going to increase for a bit, and that can affect that infrastructure plan, right? So we have to make sure that we're ready to adapt and change to anything and address what's needed the most, what's priority in town. The one thing that I looked at is the public safety study that was just approved by the board for the downtown central district. I think that's important. I don't know how many times I'm grabbing a coffee, walking with my kids, and sometimes it's pretty dangerous. And so looking at that safety plan, ensuring that there's good ingress and egress between the businesses. But going back to your answer about financing it is looking at alternative means, right? Right now, I believe it was 1.6 million over 5 years of a grant that we're going to have that's going to be geared towards that improvement, that capital improvement. We should be looking at the regional plans in the state. We should be looking at DuPage to see where we can get some funds, where we can partner, collaborate to get those funds to assist, right? Whether that's 50-50 with another village, with the township, or the state.
Okay, so our first master infrastructure plan ran from 2009 to 2024. We're now in the process of putting a new one together that's going to run another 5 years approximately. Some of the things we're looking at doing over the next time is, first of all, we need to pay attention to our roads. We've been doing a great job on repaving them, but as I said before, they require additional reconstruction and pavement. We've eliminated several drainage problem areas. We installed underground vaults to eliminate flooding on North Madison and the park at the Highlands, plus several other areas where new drainage pipe was installed. With this year, we're making connection with the Burr Ridge's water distribution system. This is going to give us a backup water supply, which, when complete, so we'll have an alternate source of water in case the Page Water Commission lines go down. They don't go down. Oh, wait a minute, that happened 2 weeks ago. We have many leaks in our village water system. This is not unusual in a village, an older village such as ours. These leaks can be very difficult to identify, and we're looking at different technologies for locating them. Also, this year, we'll be looking at doing a renovation or starting renovation on the memorial building. This building, which was built in 1927, has assorted issues, including leaks and outdated HVAC systems that need a lot of renovation. We talked about grants a little bit. We've been very successful in getting a number of grants. We got a grant for a parking deck. We got an $800,000 grant for the new fire truck. We got a $200,000 grant for a new gun range or modifications to the gun range. When we upgraded our pool mechanical equipment, we got $400,000, and there's some others out there that we've got the grants, but we're not sure if we're going to get the money, if you know what I mean.
Infrastructure is always a priority. Everything that Trustee Burns here talked about is a priority. How do we pay for it? We properly plan and we properly budget. Talking about our streets again. We finished our 15-year MIP. 94% of our streets have been resurfaced. We are now going to start working on our 5-year master infrastructure plan. That'll be more geared towards addressing our drain and sewer issue, not sewage issue. As we speak, staff is working on getting us that 5-year plan. I'm excited to review it, and I'm excited to budget for it.
I talked before about the different funds that we have to fund master infrastructure, to fund capital improvements, so I won't talk about those again. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of finding revenues. First of all, we and our staff are very active in obtaining grants at the federal and state level. We work actively with our local congressmen and state senator representatives to get us grants, and they have been very helpful in getting those grants for us. It's a regular part of our funding. In terms of property taxes, we typically raise our property taxes by inflation every year, as we're permitted to do, and again, that's because our costs of paying our employees, of the services and goods that we buy from third parties are all also going up at the rate of inflation. Another thing that we do is we try to share costs with other stakeholders involved. Sometimes these take the form of special service areas where property taxes and assessments are made. The Woodland Rain Gardens is an example of that. We also team up with other local governments. Memorial Plaza, where we teamed up with the library. The Burr Ridge Interconnect, where we teamed up with Burr Ridge. Sometimes it's with non-governmental organizations like the Hinsdale Paddle Tennis Association. We actively work with people where both of us are benefiting to share the costs.
All right, our next question. What do you think of the village's approach to public safety? Neil, we're going to start with you on that.
Well, we've been doing a lot of things with public safety over the last several years. Signage has been improved at numerous intersections to eliminate accidents. New regulations have recently been developed regarding the use of e-bikes and scooters. That's one of the ones that scared me the most, because when you watch a young person, 8 or 9 years old, going down the road with like this, and then also they're going down the road and they're looking at their phone too. So they're not looking at stop signs and yield signs. Anyway, enough about that. We've installed bollards at Fuller Car Wash. It took a long time, but I think we finally got to the point where we have the proper stuff in there. We've hired a consultant to perform a safety study in the central business district, and we look forward to improving the suggestions that we get from that study. After we have that study in the central business district, the consultant is going to look at other areas such as around the schools. And if you've been around the schools at 3 o'clock when the school is letting out, there's just a lot going on there. So those are some of the things we're doing on safety. It's something that we do we think about that all the time. I used to work in the chemical industry, and when you work in the chemical industry, you thought about safety 24/7, or you didn't work in the chemical industry.
Police Chief King and our Hinsdale Police Department is top notch. The police are hardworking, they're strategic in their approach, and they use state-of-the-art technology when required. There's more though. We are very excited to work with Chief King on the 2025 Village of Hinsdale Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Study. I asked for this study. Our board supports this study. We're going to take it in small, manageable bites. First, we'll address the Central Business District. This includes Maple to 2nd Street, Garfield to Grant. I have the safety study right here. We're going to have experts. We're going to have consultants help us. They're going to examine existing vehicular, pedestrian, and bicycle operations. They're going to identify operational issues, analyze potential mitigation measures, and develop recommendations to address operational issues. This is going to be a great tool for us. It'll make us safer. It'll make us stronger.
Not to repeat some of the things that have already been said, but I will say that our police department is excellent, and it starts at the top with Chief King, who's really at the top of his game and is pursuing a lot of really, high-end police tactics. I'm going to talk a little bit about crime, because I think that's part of safety. Obviously, we've already talked about the traffic study and stop signs and so forth. As you probably know, we are a bit of a target because of we're an affluent community and we're close to 294. But our police department is on top of it, and we've been privy to some things that the average resident can't see just for secrecy reasons. But I will tell you that it is really exciting in terms of the technology that they're using to fight crime in our community. And I will tell you that our police department will do a lot of things to fight crime and catch criminals that a lot of our other neighboring communities will not do. A lot of communities around here, when a criminal crosses the border of their municipality, they will not follow them. Our police department will go into the city of Chicago to go after people who have committed a crime in Hinsdale, and they catch the vast majority of people who are committing crimes in Hinsdale. The police department has our full support. They're doing an excellent job.
So public safety is one of the biggest things, especially when you have young children, 3.5, 2-year-old, and one on the way. And somebody with a background and has some experience in this, in public safety and in law enforcement, I applaud the police department in Hinsdale. I love seeing them. I love seeing them around. My daughter loves when the fire truck drives by Garfield, which is a lot. And so I think we're doing a great job. I'm very aware of the technology that's being used in place. I didn't know it was secret, so I won't mention it. But I'm excited about the resources that are out there, the initiatives, the technology that we can bring to Hinsdale to ensure that it continues to be a safe community. One of the things that I always read in the paper and hear about is this porch piracy and the thefts and the burglaries and going on in town. And Matt's right that we're ripe for that because we're right next to 294, 55, and people from other areas understand that. They know that this is an affluent community. So I would love to see that technology play a big part in ensuring that we can stop that, and would love to partner with the current police department and the fire department as well to ensure that they have that, and whether that's getting information or funds from IEMA, the Illinois Emergency Management Authority, or pass-throughs through the federal government.
Thank you, guys. I will just say, as a reporter, I visit a lot of police stations. As a journalist, not a suspect. And I can say without a doubt, a lot of people in this room would be shocked at the technology, the effort, and the resources that go into policing in Hinsdale. It is not a sleepy suburb that waits for crime to happen in. I'm stunned by some of the things that I know that this department does, and we should all be very thankful for that. All right, item number 6. This is a question from an audience member. You've said 90% of roads in Hinsdale have been resurfaced. What about sidewalks north of the tracks by Burns Field? Going north, kids can't ride their bikes, elderly can't walk safely. So I think the gist of the question is essentially 90% of the roads have been improved upon. What's the plan for sidewalks? And I believe, Michelle, we start with you on this one.
It's an excellent question, and I want to go back to the safety study. That is exactly one of the items that we're going to have our experts and our consultants address. What we're starting with this is the busiest area of town. We're going to start the study in the central business district, take it in manageable bites, so we can listen to what these consultants have to say, and then actually make the necessary changes as needed. Then, we are going to move into each of our school zones. We'll start with whatever school that we think is the busiest at that time, and we'll work with the school, the residents in that area, these experts, and those consultants to make sure we address areas like sidewalks. Make sure that we find ways to get our kids walking to school in the best, safest way possible. That's the goal of the safety study. That's my goal, and that's the goal of our board.
Yeah, just to focus on this, obviously the traffic study and the successors of that study will be very important. One of the things we really look to do is with traffic flow is make sure that there are proper stop signs. And actually one of the things that we just did at our last board meeting on Tuesday was put some stop signs in place in a intersection that's very close to Monroe School where there are no sidewalks. And it was determined that the safest way to deal with this busy intersection where there's a lot of young kids walking to Monroe School is to put a 4-way stop in place. We usually follow something called the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices when deciding when to put stop signs in place, but this was a particular circumstance because of no sidewalks where we decided to put the stop signs in place anyway. And I will give credit to Michelle for spearheading this project.
As soon as you mentioned sidewalks, I remember moving here with my wife, and we got our stroller. We're so happy to go into town, and I told my wife, I said, wow, I'm like, these sidewalks are terrible. and to be pushing the stroller and kind of bumping, and the baby can't go to sleep. So that's why I was kind of laughing when we said sidewalks at the beginning of this. But I looked at the sidewalk program, and again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe it's $75,000 that's allocated on that 50-50 program for the entire village. It may be a little bit more, a little bit less, or it may have been that year when I moved in that I looked at it, that it was that amount. And that's not a lot, but Neil was talking about the e-bikes and the kids and all that, and I've seen people flip on the sidewalks. I've seen strollers, I've seen joggers, and it's definitely something that we need to address. The more important part right now is that public safety study, or that study, traffic study in the downtown central district, because that's where the kids are in the community. Every summer you just see them running around, playing, and it's a very dangerous area. But the sidewalks, I have to say, as a young parent, that's something that's definitely important to me, at least, when I'm walking to the central business district.
One of the challenges with sidewalks is they're very inconsistent throughout the village. You'll go to an area that's been well developed and everything, and there's no sidewalks there. And then you go one block up, and there's all sidewalks and the trees and the parkway and everything like that. I don't have all the answers for that, but I think I do hope to get some suggestions from this safety study we're doing as to at least find maybe critical areas where we need to add sidewalks. But it's a very expensive proposition. And then the other thing with sidewalks, there's so many homes that have been doing all sorts of landscaping, or there's very mature trees there. You put sidewalks next to mature trees, it kills the tree. So there's a lot of factors that we have to take into account. I think a good place to start though will be the safety study.
All right, thank you. I think we have time for one more audience question. So this was submitted by an audience member. Why did current board members not address safety issues from Fuller's Car Wash prior to 2023? Perhaps if we could expand on that, just what, if any, role does the village play in determining the future of Fuller's? Matt, you're up first for that one.
Thanks, Ben. So first of all, I'll have to say I really feel awful about what happened. I knew Sean from time in scouting, and he was a great kid, and we really all miss him, and my sympathy goes out to the family. I think it's safe to say that if we were deciding today whether to put a new car wash in that location, we would not do it. It's a very, it's a small lot, it's close to the train tracks, and like I said, if it were a new business, we probably wouldn't put a car wash there today. I think that's safe to say. But because it was an existing business that was in place before our zoning code was put in place, it did have the right to operate there. And there have been people who asked if it's possible to shut down the car wash. It actually legally is not. We've talked with our attorneys about it, and we've talked with the village's insurer about it, and that's just not something that we are legally permitted to do because it is an existing business that existed before that. I'm really looking forward to the traffic study and the recommendations that are going to come out of that. I also think that the bollards and the Jersey barriers that are around the car wash are providing a lot of additional safety there.
I think that question was geared more towards the existing board, and look, I'm not here to bash anybody or speak ill of the current board and their decision, or whether or not they played a part or could have played a part in that, right? But when we heard about it, and it's obviously it's a tragedy, and condolences to the family. I could not. I mean, as you know, I look at my son every day, and I couldn't imagine what they're going through. So our hearts go out to them. But that traffic study is something that is usually done right away, and especially in a busy central district. So I think I can't speak whether or not that would have prevented it, but I think it's very important, and I'm glad that last month the board made the decision to move that forward. But so I don't want to Monday morning quarterback the decision or how they played a part, or whether they played a part in that. I'm not running to bash them on that, or bash them on anything else. But it was a tragedy to our community.
I'll be very brief. First of all, our heart certainly goes out to the Richards family after this terrible tragedy. As Matt says, we were advised by council that they had a special use permit, but our council advised us that we were unable to rescind that permit. And if we did, we would lose our insurance coverage, which we certainly couldn't have happen. Suitable bollards and Jersey barriers have been installed, so that's certainly helping the situation. As Matt said, though, if a car wash was proposed for that location, it is highly unlikely would be approved due to traffic and density issues and not fitting in with the fabric of the central business district.
This is definitely a tragedy. I will always pray for the Richards family, and I will always pray for their son. Out of this, many questions have been asked about safety surrounding this event. Many questions have been asked about safety in other areas of the village. That is one of the reasons why we are doing the 2025 Village of Hinsdale Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Study. It will cover a lot of areas, but it will also cover the area that includes Fuller's Car Wash.
Alrighty, thank you, and thank you to the audience members who asked questions. Each candidate's going to now have the opportunity, I believe, to make a quick closing statement. 1 minute. And we're going to start with Matt.
Well, thanks again, Ben, and to the Hinsdale for the opportunity to speak with you all this evening. It's been an honor and a privilege to be your trustee for the last 8 years, and I respectfully ask for your vote again. When reelected, I promise to focus on the following priorities. Finances, maintaining our AAA credit rating and a balanced budget with smart, limited spending. Infrastructure, maintaining the village's newly restored roads and upgrading our water and sewer mains. And safety, working with our excellent police and fire departments to make our homes, businesses, and streets safe. I want to thank President Cawley for his excellent leadership and service over the last 16 years. We are now going to have a new Village Board President, Greg Hart. I'm looking forward to working with him and learning what ideas he has for making our village better. But I also think that it's going to be very important to have an experienced board who has experience working with the staff, who knows how the village has been operating over the last 4, 8, 12 years, so that we can help him make this village a better place. Village Board experience matters. Please vote 1, 2, 3 for Michelle, Neil, and myself. Thank you.
So, you know, I told you at the onset of this a little bit about myself. I'm new to the community. I don't have the tenure that the other 3 board members incumbents have on the board or in the community. But when my family moved here, we knew Hinsdale was home, and we've met so many young families, and through that we've had many discussions with our friends and families. And I'd like to present a new voice, a fresh voice, a young voice to the board. And you know, there's a lot of talk about experience. I've probably been in some form or fashion over board meetings, whether it be at a county level, state hearings, or private organizations. I've probably been involved in about 4,000 hearings, commissions, and so experience is there. As an attorney, which I know we have a lot of attorneys on the board, and running, you know, I bring experience in that regard as well, but also with my law enforcement background, and I believe that I can help our incoming mayor, Greg Hart, who's also young, and did not serve on the board, but is very experienced at the county level, you know, make Hinsdale a better place. Thank you.
We have a lot of attorneys, but only one chemical engineer. First of all, I want to again thank the Hinsdalean for staging candidates tonight. I think we've explored many key issues that Hinsdale will be dealing with in the next several years. Going forward, Michelle, Matt, and I are asking for your votes and trust, and we want to emphasize the importance of the many years of village board experience we trustees have. We're not beginners. We have firsthand knowledge of the inner workings of our village, which has only been gained through our time on the board. When re-elected, I intend to continue to improve our infrastructure through the implementation of our new MIP, our Master Infrastructure Plan. I will continue to work with our police and fire department to improve public safety, and I will continue to carefully assess expenditures that come before the board to ensure our village finances remain sound. Michelle, Matt, and I ask you to vote for number 1, 2, and 3 on election day. Thank you very much.
Having Village of Hinsdale board experience really does matter. Having first-hand knowledge of how our village works matters. Having a proven track record of board accomplishments matters. This is the recipe for continued success, and this is what I have to offer. This is what Trustee Burns offers, and this is what Trustee Poshino offers. As we wrap up here tonight, my pledge to you is this. I will continue to provide experience, balance, and trusted leadership. I promise to energetically work to protect our strong sense of community, history, and shared values. My priorities for the village will remain clear. I will stay focused on beautification projects and making our parks and fields meet the needs of families and athletes. I will prioritize village public safety. I will work to enhance our central business district and outdoor dining programs. I ask for your vote and your trust in my continued commitment to this thriving village. In this election, vote number 1 for Michelle Fisher and 2 and 3 for trustees Postma and Burns. Thank you, happy spring, and a good room.
Thank you all. How about a round of applause? Okay, we'll do a quick switch and then